Yo, YouTube, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Sunday? The sun is shining, I'm in a good mood, I hope you guys are too, and today we are covering one of the more important members of the Charlotte family, relevant to the plot and the arc in Whole Cake Island. Today we are covering Charlotte Brulee. Now, Charlotte Brulee is the 8th daughter and 19th child of the Charlotte family and the older twin sister of Broye. She is also an officer of the Big Mom Pirates. She was stationed in the Seducing Woods to ambush the Sanji retrieval team, but after being defeated, the team used her Devil Fruit ability to enter an alternate dimension known as the Mirror World to move around Totoland. Due to her actions and role, she is a major antagonist in the Whole Cake Island arc. Now, her appearance. Now, Brulee looks in many respects like the stereotypical witch. She's an extremely tall, slightly hunched and gray-skinned woman with a well-endowed yet thin figure, which makes her limbs appear to be exceptionally long. She stands at roughly twice Nami's height, which is about 170 centimeters, with her legs alone being noticeably longer than she is overall. She has also very long, gnarled fingers with overlong, sharp nails painted blue. The woman's face has very striking hag-like features. Her droopy eyes have yellow irises and long lashes. They are topped by a viridian eyeshadow and black high-arched eyebrows, which she keeps perpetually furrowed. She has a huge, overprojected reddish hook nose, similar to her mother's, a large mouth with purple lipstick that is usually seen devilishly smiling, a square jaw, and a brown, sharp-cornered scar stretching diagonally down her face from right to left. Brulee's hair is lavender and divided into 2 side locks that cascade over her breasts, as well as 4 other similarly long and sharp lock-like segments that stick to the sides, slightly curved upwards. Now, she takes to wearing a whitish creased gown. Its main upper section has a frilly scoop neckline, loose flaring sleeves that are tattered at the edges, and stops quite below the waist in a frilled hemline adorned by a horizontal row of red roses above. The lower, seemingly separate part of the dress, which begins under the upper one, falls to the ground and too has roses stitched onto itself in the aforementioned manner. Brulee's clothing is completed by a feathered, sleeveless overcoat in moss green color, the later in addition to her grayish skin earning a comparison to a tree by Carrot and a branch by Monkey D. Luffy, which is what Luffy ends up calling her. He doesn't call her Brulee, he calls her Branch, much to her annoyance. When she was taken to Capone Beji's hideout, her attire forcefully changed into a more clean and elegant dress by the Fire Tank Pirates, which is also light in color with 2 frilled hemlines and close-fitting sleeves, as well as a light-colored coat above the actual sleeves and a light fur trim. Her hair was brushed into 2 sideward wicks, but after being saved by Katakuri, she changed her hair back into having 4 locks. As a young child, Brulee's hair was shorter and partitioned into 8 locks, and her nose was small and cone-shaped, and a paler shade of red. Her skin was also pale beige-gray color, where she wore a white short-sleeve dress with flowers around the neckline. Alright, and now we move on into her personality. Now, she is very prideful, as she was rather offended when Carrot referred to her as a talking tree, and Luffy called her a branch, which is what I said earlier. She was very offended by that. As well as when her mother sent Charlotte Cracker to fight the Straw Hats in her stead due to not considering her powerful enough. Brulee is confident in her powers and claims that she could kill the Straw Hats in an instant, not liking to be underestimated. Due to her terrible scar on her face, she is envious of those with alluring faces to the point that she wants to slice them up. Her jealousy is also tempered with the very sadistic nature, as she is shown when she intended to boil Carrot alive. Brulee was excited in disfiguring Carrot's face with horrible burns. She scoffs at the notion of anyone succeeding against an emperor like Big Mom, believing it to be ridiculous and impossible. She also thinks very little of the worst generation, believing their actions in the first half of the Grand Line were not that big of an achievement. Like most of her siblings, Brulee is arrogant and has the utmost pride in her crew and family. This is shown when she boasted to Luffy about Katakuri's strength and how he had never lost a single fight before. This leads her to underestimate her opponents, as she was shocked to learn that Brook managed to get copies of the poneglyphs and hide them from Big Mom, and became devastated when Katakuri was defeated by Luffy. Now, Brulee seems to share her mother's dream of creating a paradise of every race united, and finds great joy in discovering new kinds of creatures, especially animals. Excuse me. She seems to be very extremely close-minded about non-humans, as she considers minks to be mere animals and has no qualms about threatening to consume them, even disregarding their begging for mercy. She also thinks very little of her mother's husbands, as she jeeringly declared her ex-stepfather Pound an enemy with no chance of returning from his actions. She also cackled with glee when revealing that none of Big Mom's affiliates could leave her alive. Brulee is very loyal to her mother, as she followed her orders to keep Luffy and his group away from Sanji. She is also loyal to her family, as she went with Katakuri's plans to ambush the Straw Hats on their ship. She detests traitors, yelling angrily at Jinbei when she discovered him with the Sanji retrieval team, as well as questioning Chiffon, who is another another stepfather, in her participation in her husband's plot to assassinate their mother. She also became... Oh, no, Chiffon is one of her sisters. I'm sorry. She also became enraged at Peckhams for using her to assist in Luffy's escape. Brulee is noted by her own family to be very careless and clumsy, as proven when she easily ended up getting herself captured by her enemies for them to exploit her devil fruit powers, as shown with Chopper and Luffy. Now, due to her arrogance and carelessness, Brulee is very cowardly if she is caught in a helpless situation that would endanger her life. When Brulee was being used by the Straw Hats and Fire Tank Pirates, she became terrified of her mother finding out and considering her a traitor, and that she would be killed. When Luffy found her while he was retreating from Katakuri, Brulee became terrified as she was taken hostage to escape the Mirror World while pleading with Katakuri to save her. On Nuts Island, after being spotted, Brulee pleaded for Perospero and Amand and a deranged Big Mom to save her. Brulee is very tricky and deceptive, using her devil fruit to separate Luffy from his group by disguising him and deceiving the retrieval team, and managed to capture Carrot in the Mirror World, though she is not always perceptive, as she failed to notice the frog transformed into Carrot and was not actually speaking, and also did not piece together that the duplicate mink came from her own devil fruit ability. Brulee also seemed very susceptible to tickle torture, as she easily gave Chopper and Carrot all the answers they needed when they tickled her. Despite being usually cruel to enemies, Brulee has a kind and caring side, as she genuinely loved her family, as she was crying when the whole cake chateau was falling over with her family on it. Even as a child, she tried to comfort Katakuri, telling him not to blame himself for her brutal disfigurement by his bullies. She also tearfully reported Katakuri's defeat at Luffy's hands to her family and crew in order to ensure that neither he nor Sanji managed to escape. She was more concerned about Katakuri being hurt by Luffy rather than his loss against the latter. Brulee cares for her brother in high regards, and that she knew Katakuri lays on his back and kept that secret out of respect towards him. Like many other people, Brulee does have a very characteristic and unique laugh. It is wee 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 wee. And yeah, that is her laugh. Okie dokie, guys, and now we're going to move on into her relationships. Now, as the 8th daughter of Charlotte Linlin, Brulee is very loyal to her mother, and because of her loyalty, Brulee followed her mother's orders in keeping Luffy from meeting Sanji. Big Mom sent Brulee's half-brother Cracker to assist her against both Luffy and Nami, because Luffy was able to beat Doflamingo. When the Sanji retrieval team arrived at Big Mom's chamber, Brulee attempted to shout for her mother's aid, only to be gagged immediately. Brulee is also aware of her mother's complete ruthlessness towards her own children should they defy her, as Brulee was terrified that she would be murdered by Big Mom if she were considered an associate of the Fire Tank Pirates in the plot to assassinate her. Despite the fear of her mother, Brulee cried out for her when she was falling in the collapsing chateau. Now, her siblings. Due to her caring nature towards her family, Brulee appears to be in good terms with the majority of her siblings. As maternal half-siblings, Brulee and Charlotte Cracker both get along very well. Even though Brulee was annoyed that her older brother was sent out to help her, they did cooperate in fighting Luffy and Nami. During the many times that she was captured by the Straw Hat Pirates, her half-siblings Perospero and Amanda rushed to her aid when she called out for help. Oven became enraged when seeing Peckhams holding his beloved little sister, and Brulee at gunpoint and immediately saved her. During the Vinsmoke family's escape, Brulee cries when her little half-sister Pudding was captured. However, Brulee bears open hostility towards any traitors to the family, such as her younger half-sister Chiffon, due to her joining Beji to kill her own mother. Big Mom, Chiffon told Brulee that only her family were Lola, Beji, and Pez due to the abuse she suffered from her at her mother's hand. Now, Katakuri. After Beji's attempt to assassinate Big Mom, Katakuri saved her from being used any further by her enemies and grabbed her by the collar, as he noted that the enemy had been using her a lot in their plans. Brulee showed fear in his presence as she frantically explained that she was a hostage who had no choice, before she implored her brother to finish off their enemies. She holds Katakuri's strength in the highest regard, as shown when she proudly bragged about it to Luffy while the Straw Hat Captain was struggling in his fight against the Sweet Commander. She refers to Katakuri as the Charlotte family's greatest creation. She also cares greatly about Katakuri, as she frantically cries when Luffy defeated him, and when he when she tearfully reported his defeat to the family and crew. Now, they were extremely close since childhood, as Brulee does not discriminate against Katakuri for his pelican eel-like mouth. Even after Katakuri's bullies took revenge by scarring her face, Brulee did not blame Katakuri and told him he is just fine the way he is. Later, Katakuri gets his revenge by attacking the bullies for scaring his sister. Brulee also has a habit of spying on Katakuri from the mirror world, thus learning all of his secrets, including the fact that he has laid on his back, which she kept to herself out of respect for the latter. Katakuri is known amongst the Charlotte family as the man who has never laid on his back, right? He is this great warrior figure who is so great that his back has never touched the ground even to rest. But she knows that that's false, but she hides that secret out of respect for him, because if she kind of like threw him under the bus, he would lose a lot of his credibility within the family. Now, her allies, King Baum. King Baum was very loyal to Brulee and respects her authority. However, when Nami pulled out Big Mom's Vivro card, King Baum and the homies stopped attacking Nami because they sensed Big Mom's soul. Now, moving on to her enemies, specifically the Worst Generation. Brulee mocks the Worst Generation when they came to Totoland. Only 4 known members before Luffy came: Eustace Kid, Scratchman Apu, Capone Beji, and Uraji. Though Brulee mocked the Worst Generation, she did acknowledge Uraji's achievement in defeating one of the then 4 Sweet Commanders. However, Brulee was proud to mention Uraji's defeat at the hands of Cracker. Brulee dislikes the Worst Generation increased when she found out that Beji was really feigning loyalty and recruited Luffy in his plot to kill her mother. And now, the Sanji Retrieval Team. On her mother's orders, Brulee served as an adversary to the Sanji Retrieval Team and an obstacle in their efforts to rescue Sanji. Due to Luffy being part of the Worst Generation, Brulee mocked him and the others from the same generation. Brulee is very antagonistic towards Nami and Carrot, saying that she wants to slice him up because of how pretty they are. After seeing Chopper's abilities, Brulee took an interest in him and promised to collect him for her mother. After she trapped Carrot and Chopper in the mirror world, she battled Nami, who managed to outwit and defeat her. After catching Chopper and Carrot in the mirror world, she prepared to put Carrot in boiling soup, although this did fail. Chopper and Carrot soon forced Brulee into guiding them through the mirror world and helping them find their friends. She was enraged when Luffy later used her powers to make copies of himself and destroyed the wedding cake that her mother was very much looking forward to. It's a wild scene in the anime. Luffy captures a bunch of animals, turns them into copies of himself, lets them loose from a mirror inside the cake, destroys the cake, Big Mom goes crazy, Luffy's wilding out, acting like an animal. I thought that was a funny joke, but no one's here to laugh, so hopefully you guys do. Anyways, after being freed by her brother, Katakuri, Brulee did not hesitate to stand on the Straw Hats' way of escape, determined to settle the score with them for using her. After the Whole Cake Chateau collapsed and the Straw Hats escaped, she told her brother Katakuri to kill them for all the time they held her hostage, and she made sure to hinder their escape. She took great joy in helping her family attack the Straw Hats ship while Big Mom was chasing them. Unfortunately for Brulee, she was yet again taken prisoner by Luffy, who used her to travel from island to island through the mirror world. After seeing Luffy defeat Katakuri, Brulee was extremely furious. On Cacao Island, she reported Katakuri's defeat at Luffy's hand to her family and crew in order to assure that he and Sanji can't escape, while complaining to her brother that she was upset that the Straw Hats managed to escape Totoland as well. Now, Pound. Brulee made enemies of her former stepfather and labeled him as an enemy of the Charlotte family for his role in assisting the Straw Hats to figure out what was going on in the enchanting woods. Now, Jinbei, who is an actual enemy of the Big Mom Pirates, becomes an enemy of the Big Mom Pirates during the Whole Cake Island arc. She was very enraged to see Jinbei with the Sanji Retrieval Team, saying that his actions meant betrayal to Big Mom. After Brulee told Jinbei the true purpose of the punishment Roulette will, she bragged that his actions would result in punishment by death, but her warning was ignored. She was later angered when he twice listed her as a member of the group to overthrow Big Mom. Now, Peckhams, her last listed enemy. Peckhams captured Brulee to use her to assist Luffy in escaping the Big Mom Pirates. Brulee was infuriated at Peckhams' betrayal and bragged that he would be executed as a traitor. Essentially, Peckhams was in the mirror world and caught Brulee as she was trying to escape and warn her family, held her hostage, and waited for Luffy to win his fight so he could use her abilities to get out of the mirror world. Alright, and now we move on to Brulee's abilities and powers. Now, as an officer of the Big Mom Pirates, Brulee holds a high position in the crew and has authority over lower-ranking members of the crew and the army itself. Now, she's a fairly powerful fighter, as Big Mom had enough confidence in her to prevent the Sanji retrieval team from escaping the Seducing Woods. Seducing Woods, not the Enchanting Woods. Is that Lord of the Rings? Probably something like that. Anyways, she's a very powerful fighter, yada yada yada. She is also capable of coordinating with several homies in the forest to fight against them. However, her family notes that Brulee is actually very clumsy, not as strong as she perceives herself. True enough, Chopper and Carrot were able to defeat her by using her powers against her, and was even captured by an exhausted Luffy when he needed to escape from his fight with Katakuri. He was also easily captured by Peckhams and held hostage. Now, Brulee possesses a strong will, being able to withstand a burst of Big Mom's Conqueror's Haki and remain conscious for her loud scream. Now, her physical abilities. She is rather strong, as she was easily able to lift up and hold Nami by the neck with one hand. She also uses her long and sharp fingernails to slice people. Brulee also has incredibly fast reflexes, as she was able to dodge Pound's punch easily and defend against Carrot, who is an extremely fast mink fighter in her own right. She has considerable endurance, as she was able to withstand being scalded by a giant pot of soup, as well as being electrocuted by Carrot's Electro and Nami's Thundercloud Rod, and then regain consciousness shortly afterwards. Now, she is very skilled in tactics such as ambush, traps, and trickery, as seen when she easily separated Luffy from the Sanji retrieval team, sneaked up on Nami by disguising herself as Luffy, and easily trapped Carrot, a capable mink fighter, with only minimal effort. Now, her devil fruit is the Mira Mira no Mi. It is a paramecia type devil fruit that allows her to create and manipulate mirrors. She can also use her mirrors to reflect attacks back at her opponents and turn any mirror into a portal into the mirror world and transform herself and other living things into mirror images of different people. By creating a mirror shield, she can provide herself with an absolute defense that not only shields her but also reflects an opponent's attack back at them, turning their own strength against them. And I do believe this works for almost every type of attack, whether it's a devil fruit based attack or like a bullet or something like that. I do believe she has the ability to mirror the attack back at the enemy of almost basically any attack. Now, she can transform herself into a mirror image of a chosen target while transformed into someone's reflection. She will do and say exactly whatever her target does and says, like a perfect reflection. The reverse is also true, allowing her to force the targets to reflect her own words and actions. She can even reflect other people's devil fruit powers. She can also transform herself into a partial reflection, such as reflecting a person's body but with her own face. This gives her access to that person's abilities and powers, but does not link the two to mimic each other's actions. She has the ability to transform other living things, such as animals, into reflections as well, though these reflections are not linked to the mimic or the original, or vice versa. This allows her to create chaos and confusion among her enemies. She can turn any mirror she touches into a doorway that connects to the real world and her personal pocket dimension, the mirror world. A long tunnel filled with countless mirrors, each one connected to a counterpart mirror in the real world. Brulee is referred to as the only key to the mirror world. Without her, the mirrors in the mirror world are just mirrors, though they can be used as windows to view what is going on the other sides of their respective real-world counterparts. She can use the mirror world to support her allies by allowing them to travel through the mirror world so that they can emerge from mirror at an advantageous location. Somewhere behind the enemy lines would be a good example of that. She can also use the mirror world to set traps for her enemies, as no one can enter or leave the mirror world without her. Now, her weapons. When she chased Chopper and Carrot inside the mirror world, Brulee wielded a scythe, which kind of then adds on to her witch-like appearance, because witches use scythes. And her medical expertise, she is shown to have some medical knowledge, at least basic first aid care, as she was the one that tended to Katakuri's wounds after her defeat at the hands of Luffy. Alright, and I'm going to end this video off with some trivia. Her name, Brulee's name, is based on the dessert creme brulee, which is dessert made of custard topped with hard caramel, which follows the food-themed names of the Charlotte family and the Big Mom Pirates. Creme brulee is also known as burnt cream, possibly alluding to her defeat by being burned. And also, Brulee is the second character we have seen to be able to imitate the usage of the gum fruit using her devil fruit. She used the Mirror Mirror Fruit to replicate Luffy's Devil Fruit abilities. The first person to replicate Luffy's Devil Fruit abilities was Gecko Moria, who used his Shadow Fruit to manipulate Oar's Shadow to perform Luffy's stretchy attacks. Yeah, and that's going to be it for the video today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me until the very end. It means the world to me every single time you guys do. If you guys could hit that like button, share, and subscribe, ring the bell, it would mean the absolute world to me as a small YouTuber trying to put my name out there. You guys know I love you, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.